Hey guys, welcome back. Welcome. I just want to say thank you to everybody that's been watching, showing love, liking, commenting, subscribing. Continue doing that. It gives me a lot of motivation to do these videos, a lot of inspiration to do these videos. When I get feedback, when I get people to like, to comment, to subscribe, it gives me that energy to want to do this and to share my story with you guys, because a lot of people do go through these things. So today what I'm going to be talking about is my labor and delivery story, one that everybody's probably been watching over and over on YouTube. I know when I first got pregnant, I was watching like labor and delivery videos, and then when I came close to me giving birth, I started watching even more labor and delivery videos just to get like understanding. And everybody has a different story, so I want to share my story. I want you guys to have this at least for something to look into if you're becoming a mom, or if you're about to have a baby, or if you had a baby and you want to compare your story to mine, whatever it is. Or even if you're a guy and you just want to watch because it's interesting. Guys have babies too, and they have to be that support system for their woman, if you're that guy. So yeah, so my labor delivery story. Let's start with this. I stopped working at 38 weeks. It was December 1st. My first day I stopped working. I was so tired. I was over life. I was annoyed. I was uncomfortable. The week before that I was uncomfortable, but once it reached like the point where it was December and I knew he was due December 12th, I was uncomfortable and everything bothered me. The heat, I was always hot. It was no heat. I was always hot. I was always annoyed. I just felt slow. I felt like a turtle, like literally a turtle. It took me forever to walk. I was just all over the place, and it became to a point where I was just like, this baby needs to come out. So what I did, I started looking up ways to induce my labor on my own, which I don't recommend for people to do, because it can cause things to happen other than everybody has a different story, and if you think you're like okay enough to do so, then go ahead, but take precautions on that, since sometimes it can turn out for the worse. So yeah, so I started looking for stuff to do, and one of the first things I did was I ate a whole pineapple. So I went on YouTube and I googled like all the stuff to do, and one of the first things was eat a whole pineapple, and I like pineapples. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna eat the whole pineapple, but it was like a little bitter on my tongue after eating almost the whole thing. But it didn't do anything, well, to my knowledge it didn't do anything for me, because at that time I was eating it, like I ate half first that day, and then I ate the other half the rest of the day, and nothing happened. This boy didn't want to come out. I was just so annoyed. I was like, all right, so what's next? So I also read you could drink raspberry leaf tea or something, some sort of raspberry tea, but it had to be a specific tea, because I got the regular one, and it had to be a specific one that actually gives you to activate your labor. So I got the wrong one, and I was asked out because I wanted to try to drink it. Oh, I also drank, I forgot about this. I also drank ginger tea. They say ginger tea helps you also give birth. I drank ginger tea as well, the most nastiest tea, because it was so like, I don't know, so weird. Ginger, it's just pure ginger. It was in a little packet. It was like ginger and lemon tea. That should burn my throat. It was so weird. But I drank like almost a full cup of the ginger tea, and then I tried yoga. There's this YouTube video, on a YouTube video that helps you activate your labor, and I did the yoga that she showed. I did it like 2 or 3 times and still nothing, and I was so upset. It's because I was like, oh my god, take this baby out of here, like is that's it, he needs to get out. So nothing happened. I didn't think anything of him. Like, fine, I'll stop trying. And I did stop trying to, activate my labor. I had my nephew and my niece come over because they always come to my house. So I had them come over, and I know I was about to give birth, so it was gonna be a little bit hard for me to watch them when I have a newborn baby. So they stood that weekend. It was like the week before my due date, the weekend before my due date. So they stood over, and we was chilling. We was all having fun. Dee was playing with them because I'm extra pregnant. I couldn't do much, so Dee was playing with them. But I realized that night that I had some leakage. I don't know if it was like I was then like, am I peeing on myself? But it wasn't like when you're pregnant, you expect like gushes of your water to break, or you expect the mucus plug. That's what I was expecting when I was pregnant, because nobody tells you like otherwise. So I'm waiting for those two things to happen, and none of those two happened. So I'm like, okay, this is weird. So I'm just waiting, and then like my panty will be wet, but it wasn't like a whole bunch of water. It felt like I peed on myself. Sometimes when you're pregnant, if you laugh too hard or something, you can pee on yourself. I'm sorry if you didn't know that, but you can pee on yourself. And I thought that's what it was. But when I come to realize, it happened the second time, and I'm just like, babe, I don't know if this is like okay or like what's happening, but I check myself and I'm wet. And he's like, so what do you want to do? We had the kids that night. It was already like 12 o'clock at night. The kids are here. He was like, you want to go to the hospital? And I'm like, but the kids are here. What are we going to, like, what are we going to do with the kids? I'm like, fine. I'll wait for tomorrow. If it happens again, then we'll go to the hospital. So I wake up, and I'm like the first one up. It's like 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, okay, it's happened again. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna wait for them to get up. I was taking it easy, and I didn't think anything crazy of it, because it's just a little bit of like wetness on my panty. It wasn't like a whole bunch of gushing water. It was no mucus plug. I didn't have no pains, so I was chilling. So I'm like, let me make the kids breakfast. They got up. I made them breakfast, and then I was like, we're gonna go to the hospital just to check to see what it was, because I didn't know. I was really confused. It's my first pregnancy. Oh, I also called the hospital. I gave birth in Albert Einstein in the Bronx, far uptown in the Bronx. So it was it's a part of Montefiore now. So I gave birth there, but I had called before I went in, and I was like, I don't know if this is normal, but I spoke to a nurse. She was like, well, I can't tell you over the phone if it's normal or not. You have to come in so we can check you. And I'm like, okay. So we walked to my mom's house, which is a couple of blocks away, and we dropped the kids off, and my mom comes with us. Dee comes with me, because they're my two people that I wanted there. So we walked, and we take a cab to the hospital. So not thinking anything of it, we went to the hospital for the checkup just to see what was happening. And my mom had to wait outside. Dee came in with me. So they let one person into the room when they check you. And this is not me getting admitted yet. This is just me getting like to the hospital and them doing like what is it called? I forgot what it's called. It's a room. It's like a room where they have you just waiting there to be checked and stuff. Like pregnant women go there if they having like issues. It's like instead of going to the emergency room, you go there. So I forgot what it's called, but if I remember, I'll write it on top or somewhere. But yeah, so Dee came in the room with me to the place with me, and I waited for the doctor. It was empty. I waited for the doctor to check me and stuff. So they was like, we're gonna check you. They like literally put their fingers to check you, and then they did a sonogram. So they put their finger, and before I even went to the hospital, I was already 1 centimeter, and I was 50% effaced. So for whoever doesn't know, you need to be 10 centimeters to give birth, but effaced means that I don't know if it's a mucus or what it is, on your cervix that gets smaller. So in order to be ready to give birth, you have to be 100% effaced. So that means the baby's head is literally like almost at the head of the top of the cervix. So this is your cervix, and then the baby's head is probably right here. But when it's effaced, I guess you have this much room, something like that. I'm not a doctor, I don't know. So I was 50% effaced. I was 1 centimeter open. in the beginning of November. So I was 1 centimeter for a while. And when I got to the hospital, she checked me. She's like, you're 4 centimeters right now. No, you were 3 centimeters right now, and you're 50% effaced still. I'm like, okay. So I'm like, oh, I'm almost 4 centimeters. I think it was 3 or 4, if I'm not mistaken. It was one of those two. So I was like freaking out because at that moment I'm like, am I giving birth today? Like, it was December 8th that I went to the hospital, and I was trying from December 1st to activate my labor. Probably like that few days I was trying to start it, and then December 8th is when it finally started. Like, I had some weird stuff going on. So she checked me, and then she was like, yeah, but if you're not, you know, if you everything looks fine, you can go home, or whatever the case is. I'm like, okay. So they did the sonogram, and they have the little thing on site where they can check, and they was looking at the baby, and they was looking at everything, and they was like, from the looks of it, there is not enough fluid for the baby to be inside of you or whatever. So we can't send you home, and we have to like see if, you know, the test come back to see if that was your water that broke, and it'll let us know based on that if that was your water that broke. But as of right now, it's not safe for the baby not to have the fluid, because the baby needs fluid. So that was that. And she was like, she came back and she was like, yeah, we're gonna induce you. So automatically she was like, you're gonna have the baby today. Automatically I just got crazy, because I'm like, uh I'm giving birth today. And then Dee had got extremely happy. He was like, so we having this baby today. So it was like 3 o'clock in the afternoon when we went to the doctor, and then we had to wait. So I had to call my mom, and I was telling her like, they're gonna induce me, they're gonna give me a room, so once they get the room, I'll call you upstairs. So by 7 o'clock, so they put me in the room before. They put me in the room like an hour later, and we was just waiting in the room. We was waiting for me to get induced. So we were just talking, we was chilling and stuff, and my mom and Dee was there. My mom and Dee was there, and I wasn't having contractions, and I wasn't having pains, I wasn't having anything. I just know that my water was leaking. So that's basically what happened. I was leaking water, and I didn't realize that I was leaking water, because when they tell you when you're about to give birth, your water either breaks and it comes down a whole bunch, which I saw happen to my mom before. So I was waiting for that. Or you have the mucus plug, which is probably a lot of people say is the nastiest thing to ever have come out of you. So I was waiting for that, but it wasn't like that for me. So at 7 o'clock, they induced me. And when they induced me, I was like chilling still. They put the IV, they put like 2 different IVs. They put the Pitocin, which is what makes you get induced. It gives you contractions, and it gives you like the start of your labor. So the Pitocin, I heard, is probably worse than actually you going like natural and going in already having contractions. I heard the Pitocin is a little bit like, gives you more contractions, it gives you more pain. So if you ever get induced, good luck. So yeah, so the Pitocin, they gave me the Pitocin, and I was chilling. They gave it to me, and I was thinking it wasn't working because it started at 7. So I'm waiting for the pains to come, and the doctor comes, and she's like, yeah, you're having contractions every minute. And I'm like, how am I having contractions every minute if I don't feel it? So I wasn't feeling no pain. I was chilling. So I was like, I need this baby out of me. I'm not going to be here 24/7, like, with just me going through labor. So I'm like, all right, because I did the yoga like the few days before. I was like, I'm going to start doing squats. So I went to the bathroom and I did a squat. I went to the bathroom, I did a squat, just being myself. And then I came back outside, and I told my mom and I told Dee, and I'm like, I did a squat in the bathroom to help me. And they started laughing at me. So then I showed them, I did another squat. When I did that squat, I had more water come out, and this time it felt more like actual, like a little gush of water. So I think I told him, I think I broke the rest of my like water bag. So once I did that squat, I kid you not, the labor pains came automatically really, really, really fast. Like, it was no joke. Like, at first I was just like fine, laughing. I even ate, like, they didn't tell me not to eat. I ate on the low. I ate a little bit. And like once the pain came, all hell broke loose. It was probably like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. All hell broke loose. I'm here crying. Like, and everybody always asks me, are you gonna get the epidural? And my thing was no. But once those pains came, and I'm thinking to myself, I was in pain for a good hour or two, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, these pains are only gonna get worse. Because at that time, I had only opened up 1 centimeter. From 7 o'clock to 4 o'clock in the morning, I was only open 1 more centimeter. I had 6 more centimeters to go. And in my head, I'm like, oh my God, I cannot take this pain. If it gets any worse, I'm gonna faint, or I'm gonna die. So I'm like, ow, ow. That was how I was like crying of the pain and stuff. And Dee was laughing at me because he said I sounded like I think he said I sounded like a ghost or something. I don't remember, but it was funny. But I'm like, stop making me laugh. I was in pain. So at the time, like the contraction, it was like every minute I was getting another contraction. So it'll go away for like a minute and then come back for another minute. So I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. So I'm like, I need the epidural. I need the epidural. It took them another hour to get me the epidural, I think. And at that point, I'm just like crying hysterically. The doctors is like in the room, like trying to fix up the room because they have anesthesiologist come in to give me the epidural. I think that's what it's called. And it's like a procedure to get an epidural. It's not just a needle and put it in. It's a procedure. You have to put your back all the way to the edge of the bed. You have to like bend down all the way, and like you cannot move, and like they have to find the right spot where to put it, and like there has to be a witness. You have to sign a paper, and it's a lot. Like the epidural is no joke because you can stay paralyzed if you move or if anything. So they have to like put it at the right time. So when I tell you, once I got the epidural, and once I got that medication, I was a whole different person. I was like in another world. So once he put the medicine in, I was sitting there. I'm like this, and then I got a contraction, and then all of a sudden I just felt like a relief of pain. I don't know what was in that thing. That thing is super strong, but it just numbed me. It numbed me. So I was good from then, and it was probably when they did that, I was still at 4 centimeters. They came back in an hour to check me again, and they came back with a crazy ass, like, big thing to check me. So I don't know if they was trying to take him out, or it was like a crazy, like, gadget. A crazy gadget thing. I don't know what it was, but they came with, it was like something they was gonna put inside of me to help me give birth. And I was like, I didn't see it, but Dee saw it and he told me. But they said, let me check you before, because if you're still at 4 centimeters, then we're gonna use it. We're gonna do the procedure that we need to do on you. If you're not 4 centimeters, then you'll be fine. So I'm like, okay. So I'm like, oh my God. I'm praying that I'm fine. So when she checked me, she was like, oh, okay. She's like the woman that checked me. She was like, she's 7 centimeters. She's 7 centimeters. So I'm like, oh, like 1 hour later from the epidural. I guess the epidural helped me. I don't know how, because sometimes I hear people don't get help with epidural and they stay in one spot. But I opened from 4 to 7 within an hour. And that was great. So they was like, yeah, she's fine. As I say in a few, she'll be fine to give birth. So at that time, it was probably like 6 o'clock in the morning. They come back at 7 to check on me again. My times is probably a little bit off by a couple of minutes, or like 20-30 minutes, but I'm just giving a rough draft of what was happening. So we, like, my mom and Dee, they're like extremely tired. They're like sleeping on the floor. I'm there laid out like this, and it was just a lot because, you know, we didn't sleep that night. So they was tired. only had one chair to sleep on. So somebody, I think my mom went to the floor with her coat and a savana to put and a blanket, and Dee would sleep out on the sofa for a little bit, and then they switched. It was a lot, but when it was time, they came to check me again, and I was finally 9 centimeters, and that was probably at 7 o'clock. So, well, like I told you, I wasn't feeling anything. I had tried to sleep a little bit, and I got some rest. And when they came in, like a few doctors came in, so they was like, yeah, we're gonna start getting ready to so you to give birth. So all you see is like full doctors in there. And then around that time they have a change of shifts, which was probably the worst thing that could ever happen to me, because I literally had like 5 doctors in the room at different times. So every 20 to 30 minutes I was pushing for 2 hours, 2 hours straight. Between those 2 hours straight, there was a new doctor in my face, and I was so fed up with that, because somebody come in, oh, okay, I gotta go home for my shift, we're gonna have such and such doctor come help you push, and she's gonna help you through your delivery. Okay, and after that doctor leaves, and then another doctor comes. So at one point it was even a nurse helping me push, because they was transitioning within shifts. I don't know if they was like touching base or what was happening or what, but I was so mad, so mad, because I'm here in pain pushing, and I'm getting different people. I had like the third doctor, and she ended up leaving, so like the last doctor was helping me. And when I tell you, it was really tough to be pushing for 2 hours. Some people get lucky. I did not get lucky. And she's like there trying to help me, like she's like putting her hand trying to help me, and he was stuck at my pubic bone. And every time they'll tell me to push, it would literally be back to back, like push, and then I'd be like, all right. They was like, all right, now let's stop. They was waiting for the contraction, now push. And I was like so mad, because I could not breathe. And Dee was trying to like keep up with me. He was trying to do the same thing like they was telling me to do, but he even realized like he couldn't keep up, and he was like concerned about me. And I was just like veins coming out my face. I was just like so exhausted by the time after 1 hour came, because all they was telling me is like, he's right there, he's about to come out, come push. And then they was like, oh, you gotta push like if you're taking a crap, like push with the bottom of your butt, like your butthole. You have to push down there, you can't push up here, because you're getting more tired. And I'm just like, okay. But with the epidural, what a lot of people might go through or have went through, was that once they get the epidural, they don't feel what's happening down there. I didn't feel anything. I was pushing based off me trying to push down there, as if I was taking a crap. But then they was telling me like I wasn't doing it right. So I'm pushing and I'm pushing for what? This boy did not want to come out. I was like almost about to give up. I was almost about to tell him, can you just cut me open and take this baby out? Because it came to a point where I was just like tired, so tired, pushing for 2 hours straight. And finally at the end, I had started pushing at 7. 9 o'clock came, and he finally, when I pushed this boy out, I had so much sense of relief that I cried. I cried like when I pushed him out, because you just feel his body coming out, which was like emotional for me, because I just felt something coming out of me. And then the doctors take him, and I'm thinking, they're gonna give Dee a knife to cut the umbilical cord. But then I see a doctor calling other doctors as if there was an emergency, and I was so scared. And I was still going through the trauma that I went through, me pushing. But I'm looking, trying to see what was happening, and Dee goes over there. He's just like looks worried, because it's just mad doctors coming in, because they paged them. They was like, such and such. And Dee told me that the baby came out purple. He was not breathing. From me pushing for so long, I don't know if that like hurt him, because it's the pubic bone, and he's trying to push through the pubic bone, and that was rubbing on his head, and he came out purple. And I'm like, at this point, I'm just so scared. It was a good few minutes that I didn't hear him cry, and I was so scared and I was so worried. I just look down and I just see blood everywhere, and the doctor is still in front of me, and she's like, you need stitches. No, I didn't tear from front to back. I teared in the inside, and he gave me two different stitches, which was freaking horrible as well. It was really hard. Like, I just look down, all I see is like her with a stitch just going in, and I don't feel it. I don't feel nothing. I just see her. I just see blood everywhere, and it was just a lot. And then I finally hear him cry, and then that's when everybody started crying. My mom, Dee, started crying, and I started crying. They finally gave me my baby, and I put him on my chest, and he was just so calm, because I guess he felt me and he felt my heartbeat. He just finally calmed down. He was sleeping. Then I try to give him the boob, because they say the first milk that comes out is always the best milk for them. So I try to give him the boob, and he was just laid out on me, and then they cleaned him up. They cleaned me up, and then they finally moved me to the next room. And when I tell you, the recovery process was all hell. Like preeclampsia, which can happen before labor, but I had postpartum preeclampsia, which even scared me even more, because they was checking my blood pressure all the time. They was just checking me all the time. So I went to, like, they changed me from room, and when I finally go to the bathroom, I tell you, I could not get up. I had the stitches, and then I come to find out I had hemorrhoids, which I never had ever in my life. I had hemorrhoids, and Google it, but hemorrhoids is really uncomfortable. So I just felt very, very heavy down there. I was still like numb. This is probably hours after me giving birth that the epidural was wearing off, and I went to the bathroom, and when I tell you, I was walking like a crab. I could not walk. I could not. And the pain that I felt, and just the feeling that I felt like I couldn't use the bathroom. It was just like a bloody show when I went to the bathroom. And it was scary, because I wasn't ever told about, when you give birth, what happens after, and it was just scary. I was like, I'm never gonna be the same. It's not gonna go back. Like, I felt like I was never gonna be the same down there. And the stitches was like the worst feeling, because I can't laugh. I couldn't laugh. I couldn't cough. I couldn't do certain things, because I will feel it down there, and I'll feel like heaviness, and just feel like something was gonna break. And I was scared. And I went to the bathroom. They gave me this thing called Tux, and Tux basically helps you. It helps you with the coolness of the hemorrhoids. They gave me a squirt bottle to squirt myself, to clean myself, and they gave me stuff to clean myself, and it was like a little bit okay. But during that time, it's just like I thought I would be able to shower. I didn't shower. I was there for 3 days, and I was there for 3 days, and just overall everything that had to do with just like my healing process was just a lot. I couldn't get up. Dee had to help me. We had the baby in the room, which was a beautiful thing, and we had our own room, which was very, very like beautiful. And that's what I liked about the hospital, because I didn't want to share a room with somebody. It's such an intimate moment, and I have a big family, that I was like, no, I can't have a room with somebody else. So my family came to visit. His family came to visit the first day. It was very, very nice. But recovery was by far the worst experience I ever had in my life, because they scared me to the point where it was just like, if your feet get swollen, you must go to the emergency room. You gotta come back. And what happened, I left the hospital that same day. I went home and I'm chilling. I'm just chilling. And my feet swell up. Because she said I have preeclampsia. She said you can die if you get like blood clots or you get swollen feet come back immediately. So I got scared and I run to the hospital. And what they don't tell you is you have to go back to the same hospital that you gave birth in. And I live far from the hospital that I gave birth in. So I went to a closer hospital, which was by far the worst experience of my life. And that same night I came home, I was in the hospital. Davian has stood with D, and my mom came with me, and I was crying because I was just giving birth, and the freaking nurse wants to come to me with an attitude like, "Why are you here? You didn't give birth here." I'm like, "Well, I didn't know that I have to go to the same hospital that I gave birth in. This is my first pregnancy." So I had told them, like, she's very rude, and I feel uncomfortable because I was very sentimental. My hormones was all over the place, so it was a lot to take in. I started crying. My mom was just there. My mom had to work the next day, so I had to get tests done and had to make sure that I didn't have preeclampsia and I was fine. So I ended up being there till like 5 o'clock in the morning. Mind you, I had an appointment with Davian because Davian had jaundice. He had jaundice, and that was another thing. I had to go to the doctor right away because when they let us out the hospital, there was like he has to test at a certain level to see if the jaundice is too high. We have to leave him. So I'm like, okay. He had like right. He had just met the point of jaundice where he can get out the hospital. We had to go to the doctor the next very morning to see the doctor, and we had to like get him checked to see how his jaundice was doing, and we had to follow up. But I was in the hospital that night, and the next morning I went to sleep. Well, I came out the hospital at 5 o'clock in the morning. Mind you, Dee's home with the baby, brand new newborn baby, which was scary for me because I wanted to be there with them. And I was crying because I was missing them and I wanted to be with them. I felt alone in the hospital. I felt scared because people scare you, and I just hear other people about to give birth, and just it was a lot of emotions. And I come home that morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, to go to sleep for a couple of hours, to wake up, get the baby ready, get myself ready, and us go to the doctor the next morning to do more blood work, which is also a lot because they had to keep doing blood work on him throughout the hospital visit. The 3 days that we was in the hospital, they kept taking out blood from my baby's foot, and his foot was all bruised, and he kept crying, and it was a lot for us. And for us to go to the hospital, and I was still walking very slow. I still had all that stuff going on down there. I was really, really uncomfortable to get medicine, and it was a lot. It's a lot that a lot of people don't tell you, and it's a lot of stress, and it's a lot to take in at once. And not everybody goes through this, which is fine, and it's perfect for those women that don't. But for me to go through this and me not know that other women went through this, it made me not even want to have another child. It made me second think life. Like, when I first went in having this baby, I wanted 4 kids. I came out of there, I was like, I'm one and I'm done. But over time, you come to realize that that pain, that suffering, that event holds so little compared to the life of this baby that you're creating, and you're like showing them like growing and all these things, and just helping them nurture them. And it's a beautiful experience. It outweighs that labor, and that's why I see that so many people have babies, because like multiple babies, because it outweighs that moment. So it was a little crazy. It was all hell, but it was all worth it. It was very, very worth it, and I'll do it again. I'll do it again for my babies, and I will do it as a proud mother. And next time, I think I will know better as to what to expect and what to be ready for. I hope this helped anybody be confident in what's gonna happen and take part in that. And yeah, I hope you guys Like, comment, and subscribe. Show love. It doesn't hurt to show love. And continue watching. You ready to go? You ready to go, baby?
Davian.
Davian, daddy call you. Daddy call you.
What happened?
I'm gonna burp.